Live stream ready? Good morning and welcome to today's announcement. I'm Heather Fairbairn and I will be your moderator for today's event. Before we begin, allow me to introduce the Honourable Tim Houston, Premier of Nova Scotia. Premier Houston will give some brief remarks and then we will take questions from media participating in the room and on Zoom in the time we have allotted. So without further ado, take it away, Premier.
Thank you, Heather. Good morning, everyone. Today I want to talk about the cost of living crisis. Well, actually, let me correct myself because Nova Scotians are sick and tired of hearing politicians talking about these problems. They want action. So today, let me share details about what we are doing to help Nova Scotians through this crisis. Let me also share the next steps in our action plan to help you and your family make ends meet. I've been clear about one thing during our government's time in office. We are not going along to get along. We're not continuing to do the same old thing because that's the way it's always been. Whether it's your power rates, whether it's the Liberal carbon tax, or municipal rules that block new housing from being built, we're going to fight for you against those who think it's acceptable for you to pay more. At the same time, I know that our government also has a role to play here. I know that there's also more that we can do right now this winter to use our budget to help you with your budget. Because I get that while governments can afford to run short-term deficits, too many households simply can't. At the same time, we know that there are things that are outside of our control. Nova Scotia punches above its weight in many, many areas, but we can't influence the worldwide rate of inflation. But there are things we can do. And today our government is stepping up with $255 million in programs. These programs will help people. So first, let's talk about assistance to get people off oil. Too many Nova Scotian homes, of over 200,000, still rely on home heating oil, and they have been left vulnerable to wild price fluctuations. We know we need to get more Nova Scotians off oil. We know it's the right thing to do for the big picture issues, like the fight against climate change, but even more important, it's the right thing to do for families on oil that are struggling to get by. That's why yesterday, Minister Rushton announced $140 million to help Nova Scotians make the transition. This program will help people right now, this winter, and it will make a huge difference in the long term. Second, we're coming with real relief to help you heat your home. Now, we already have a home heating assistance program in place, but time and time again, I hear from people who tell me they just missed qualifying. These folks are far from wealthy, but they're falling through the cracks. With inflation, rising interest rates, and an uncertain global economy, this year is already proving to be challenging enough. So we're expanding access to this program with a $100 million investment so that it can support more people during the winter. For this year only, the income thresholds to be eligible for the Heating Assistance Rebate Program are jumping from $29,000 to $85,000 for households. And this winter, you're getting more money to help pay for heating your home. Instead of $200, the rebate will be increased to $1,000. Applications will be open January 30th, and you can apply for the Heating Assistance Rebate Program by March 31st. More Nova Scotians will qualify, and those who qualify will get more right now. Third, they say it takes a village, and we know Nova Scotians are at our best when we work together. And the fight to help people in need has never been the government's fight alone. From one end of Nova Scotia to the other, our communities are blessed to be served by community groups that work tirelessly to help the most vulnerable. They are heroes. They deserve our gratitude. And even more importantly, they deserve our help. So we are giving them more of the supports they need. For instance, our family resource centers across the province do incredible work, but they're stretched and they need help. That's why we will also provide a total of $2.6 million to support their programs for youth and connecting families to services in their communities. The same is true for our transition houses. An additional $100,000 will help them continue the critical services they provide to women experiencing violence and abuse. In a time when so many are struggling to put food on the table, We're going to ensure that service providers caring for children, youth, and people with disabilities will receive $3 million to help with operating costs and food. And Feed Nova Scotia and other community food banks will receive another $3 million to help people with food security this winter. Thank you to these organizations that will deliver on today's commitments, and thank you to the folks in the departments who worked to make today's announcement possible. As a government, we are always focused on the long term, sustainable solutions, while we're also recognizing the need for real action in the here and now. We're not governing for a 4-year election cycle. We've had enough of that in this province. Instead, we're working towards leaving Nova Scotia better than we found it, for our kids and our grandchildren. Sometimes these solutions take time, but a better Nova Scotia is on the horizon. It will include more affordable childcare that will positively impact families for generations. It will include a transformed healthcare system with broader access to services and a better patient experience. It will include more housing at prices people can afford, no more excuses or delays. It will finally harness the potential of our natural resources, whether it's the tides of the Bay of Fundy or the incredible wind power potential on or off our shores to produce more green renewable energy right here at home. It will include a better and bigger local market for the food we grow, and a thriving economy with better jobs and higher pay that attracts talent from across Canada and around the world. All of these things are within our reach. All of these are things we can do. We can change the future of this province. We can make all of this a reality. Whether it's the challenges of today or the opportunities of tomorrow, we are never going to back down from a challenge, and we're never going to let anybody knock us off course. This is the kind of leadership Nova Scotians are right to expect, and it is the job you elected us to do. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
I'm reminded, this is obviously not an insignificant announcement, but I'm reminded that on several occasions you've said that when it comes to the fight against inflation, that you wanted to do something lasting, and this is all one time. So I'm wondering, it struck me, you may have adjusted the income assistance rates, for instance. Did you consider that, and why not?
Yeah, we've considered a number of things, and of course, over the past year, we've made a number of changes and a number of taken a number of initiatives to support Nova Scotians. There's a long list of things that we've done. Today, we'll add to that list, but we're recognizing that. There's things we can do when we look at how the budget evolves, and we look at the capacity we have when the opportunity to do more presents itself. We'll always take that opportunity to do more for Nova Scotians. So, yes, long-term sustainable changes. We made a number of those. We'll continue to make those. Sometimes you have to act in the here and now, and this is a time to act in the here and now.
But why did it take until now? I mean, people have been complaining about inflation since the spring.
I don't accept that it took until now. We've done a number of initiatives. We've been moving along on this file on a number of initiatives. These are more initiatives. We're adding to a big long list. Obviously, it's winter too. Temperatures are changing, right? So the sense of urgency gets a little bigger at times, and you do the home heating assistance rebate program has been there. This is the time of year when people start to focus on that, so we're also focusing on that. But we've taken a number of initiatives. I don't accept that we've been waiting. We're doing more when we can do more.
Any further questions in the room?
Some other provinces use indexing when it comes to cost of living, and so Nova Scotia isn't doing that. What's your thought on that?
We always assess a number of, we're looking for ways to support Nova Scotians. We assess a number of different options and opportunities. This change to the home heating rebate program is very significant. This will help a lot of Nova Scotians. The support for the community-based organizations will help a lot of people. So we're always looking for ways to support Nova Scotians. And the announcements yesterday and today, $255 million of support for Nova Scotians. I'm proud that the government has been able to put that forward today, the work of the departments and the work of others in pulling that together. This is a significant support for Nova Scotians.
Is the Halifax and Farnborough procurement process ended?
There's, I'm not really sure on the specifics, but it's certainly getting close for sure. There'll be more to say on the investments in healthcare infrastructure, certainly before the end of the year. We understand the need for healthcare infrastructure. We understand that it has to be. There's a sense of urgency. We can't wait 10 years. So these are all parts of the discussion. So. We'll have more to say that before the end of the year for sure. I'm not sure on the specific date at the end of that.
We know those eligible for the HARP rebate will get that rebate.
Yes, as quick as possible. So my understanding is some people will have already applied this year and received their initial check. So those top-up checks will be coming in January. They don't need to reapply or anything. But the applications will be open till March 31st. But we certainly encourage people to apply as soon as they're able, and the checks will go out as quickly. That's a process that's been in place for a number of years, but we understand the urgency.
How did you arrive at the dollar amounts that you have committed to these organizations? I'm just wondering if Feed Nova Scotia, for example, may have been consulted about what their needs are. Yeah,
there's always ongoing discussions. Organizations are always reaching out to the government. Government's always reaching back and forth. So there's, they generally come forward with, discuss their needs. There's a back and forth, and each of those would have been specific to discussions for sure.
Okay, I'm going to switch over to the people participating by Zoom. Checking in first with Pat Healy with the Laker. We'll do one question, one follow-up, Pat.
All right. For those Nova Scotians that rent, how does these supports help those families?
I think we're seeing there's a lot of renters in the province that pay for their own heat and other incidentals for sure. So it would certainly help those. But what we're doing, Pat, thank you for the question, is we're looking for ways that we can support Nova Scotians. We know that the cost of home heating in particular has gone up. The cost of living has gone up. But as we go into winter and people start to look at how they're going to heat their home and the cost of it, this is the appropriate time to focus on that. So that's what we're doing.
Pat, do you have a follow-up?
Yes, I do. What happens if this support isn't enough for Nova Scotians and more needs to be done?
We'll always look for ways. Yeah, I think as a government, we've shown that it's an evolving process. If you look at the supports that we've put out over the last year, this is incremental on those. We're adding to the supports we put out, and we'll always look for ways to support Nova Scotians. I consider that one of my primary responsibility, really.
Moving along to Radio Canada, we'll check in with Heloise. Heloise, one question, one follow-up.
Hi, yeah, so I'm wondering, by changing the income threshold for this program, how many more households do you think are going to be eligible for it?
I don't have the specific number on that, Eloise. I can talk to the department and get you on that. But when you consider that the threshold was 29,000, and it's increasing all the way to 85,000 for households, that's a significant jump, and it will support a lot of households. We'll get you a specific number though.
Your follow-up,
And
Heloise?
yeah, as a follow-up, aren't you worried that this is sending a mixed message, because you're saying you want people to get off?
Uh-oh. Did we lose her?
No.
Oh, hi, sorry. Yeah, my follow-up. Aren't you worried this is going to send a mixed message, because you're saying you want to help people get off oil, but now you're helping them pay for it? So how is this going to encourage them to make this transition?
Well, I think the off-oil announcement yesterday, $140 million, coupled with the federal money, we get the final details on that. But these are significant investments to help people get off oil. There's certainly no mixed message there that we want to support people getting off oil. And the reality is that it's winter now, and as quick as we want people to get off oil, it can't happen overnight, so we still have an obligation to support them over the winter. And don't forget also, I guess my final point is this home heating rebate is not just for oil. It's for people, to help people heat their homes no matter what source of fuel they use.
Moving along, we'll just do a quick check-in with Carla with Global. You're good, Carla? I know Sky's in the room. That's it for our reporters participating by Zoom. I'll do one final check in the room. Final questions for the Premier?
I just wanted to ask about just future support. You know, this is an annual program that some Nova Scotians might rely on each year. This is a significant bump for this year. So what do you kind of expect or see or say for next year?
Yeah, so we'll continue to evolve with it. I mean, it's certainly, this is for this year, this is for the here and now, right now, this winter, to help people. And then as we see what happens going forward, we'll look at that. But I think what I want Nova Scotians to know is that their government will support them in every way it possibly can. And today, this is a significant validation of that statement.
Thank you. That concludes today's
Okay.
event.
Great. Thanks, Heather. Thanks, everyone.